Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It is that time of year again and Dollar Tree is starting to put out all of their spring and Easter decor. After a long winter, this time of year is just so inspiring and I absolutely love seeing all of those bright pastel colors. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 of my favorite spring and Easter Dollar Tree DIYs. But before we get started, if you are new here, I would love for you to consider subscribing to my channel down below. For this first DIY, I'm going to be using these two wood frames from the Dollar Tree. They come in this 3.5 by 5 size and they are adorable. They are really great quality, and if you can find these, definitely pick them up because they're just perfect for crafts, but also just for photos. And you're also going to need these free printables from my blog, so I created these for you guys, and I will leave the link for this right down below. And here is my blog, so when you click that link, you're going to head on over here and you just want to scroll down past those pictures and then you will see the links for the free printables. So for this first DIY, you're just going to click right here for the first one, and then you can just print this out. And I do like to print these out on cardstock, so it's nice and sturdy, but you could definitely just print it out on regular printer paper. And then right here are the other two free printables that you will need for later on in the video. When you pick whichever ones you would like to use, you can just go ahead and cut them out on that little black line there. It is sized perfectly for this frame, but you can also use any other frame that is 3.5 by 5, and these will work of course. And you can frame yours behind the glass, but I usually like to put it above the glass, that way it doesn't have that glare and it kind of looks more like a framed art print than just a framed picture. But however you like, feel free to go ahead and frame your pictures. And here is how these two turned out, and I am obsessed with them. How cute are these? And for only $1 each, I think that they are a perfect little quick DIY. This next DIY is going to be another very quick one, and you're just going to want to start off with a 5 by 7 frame. So I picked this one up at Dollar Tree, of course, and I just really love the rustic look of it. I thought it was perfect for Easter. And then you're also going to need this free printable. So this one is also located on that same blog post, so I will leave that link down below for you. And then I'll also be using these carrots that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I just printed this one out on some cardstock as well, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out on those black lines there. And like I said, this will fit any 5 by 7 frame perfectly, so I did frame this one above the glass as well, and you will see why in a second. So those carrots that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, I'm going to be using 3 of them for this craft, and I'm going to be hot gluing them in the center of the free printable. I just laid them out here on the paper just to get the placement right, and then I kind of noticed that the green was going to be a little bit too tall, so I did give each carrot a little bit of a trim. And then I just started with my center carrot, and I just used some hot glue just right along it, and then I glued it right in the center. And then you're going to see I glued my other two right next to it, and I kind of just lined them up to make sure I had the placement correct first, and then I just added a little bit of hot glue. This DIY only cost me about $1.50 since I only used half of the carrots, but I will be using the other 3 coming up soon, so make sure you stay tuned to see that DIY too. And that is it. Like I said, really quick and simple, and just honestly, so cute. Look at that 3D effect. I just love the profile of this DIY. I just think it's really simple and clean looking, but really adorable. Next DIY coming up is one of my favorites. So you're going to want to start off by getting a vase from the Dollar Tree and one of their glass candle holders. So I already had this one made, so I'm just going to be using this one today. But if you do not have one, you just want to pick up those 2 glassware pieces and just attach them with some hot glue or some E6000 glue. That is my favorite. And then I'm also going to be using 2 packs of these faux eggs that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. When I'm taking off the raffia bow, I'm just pulling it off really carefully because I do want to use it later on in this DIY. We definitely want to reuse whenever we can. And I just love these eggs. Like, look how pretty that is. These are just one of my favorite finds this year from the Dollar Tree, so I stocked up on them. And I think that if you just take the wrapping off and just leave the egg carton sitting out on your table with the 6 eggs, that alone is a beautiful decoration. I ended up being able to fit 8 eggs in total into this vase here, but Dollar Tree does have some taller vases, so if you pick up one of those, you could probably fit all 12 eggs into that one. And now I'm just taking that raffia bow that I pulled off the packaging. I did not even have to retie it or anything. It just fit perfectly right around the vase. And I think that it just added a perfect little finishing touch. Look how beautiful those pastel colors are. They just scream Easter, but yet they're very elegant and understated. I just absolutely love it. This one would be perfect for your Easter tablescape, and our next DIY is going to be perfect for that dining room table as well. I'm going to be starting off with this plastic plate that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and this one just has really beautiful scalloped edges, and I just love using this one in DIYs because of how pretty it is. And they have it around all year, so you definitely should be able to find it. And the next item is this glass candlestick from the Dollar Tree, and you'll see here that the plate already has a circle in the center and it fits into the candlestick perfectly, so these two were made for each other. And I'm going to be using this spray paint here to paint them today. This is the Rust Oleum brand, French lilac in the satin finish, and it is beautiful. I used this spray paint for the first time in my last Easter video for these Rae Dunn inspired wood beads, and I just fell in love with it. If you guys are interested in that, I will leave that video linked down below. But after I saw the color on the wood beads, I was just trying to think of another way to use it because I was so obsessed with it. Here is how everything turned out after 2 coats of that spray paint, and like I said, it is the most beautiful lilac pastel color. And now I just have to attach my two. So for this today, I'm just going to be using some hot glue. So I just went ahead and put some on top of my candlestick, and I just turned my plate over. Like I said, it already has that circle, so I did not have to worry about lining it up or anything. Now you can just give it a little push to make sure that it is nice and secure, and you want to give it a little bit of time to dry, and that is it. You have a beautiful purple pie plate that is perfect for your desserts, of course. But I like to use mine to display some of my DIYs, and these adorable little carrots in a pot is our next DIY coming up right now. I'm going to be using this little mini terracotta pot that I picked up in the gardening section of the Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 2, so I had this one left over from a previous craft, so I'm happy I'm getting to use it now. And you guessed it, I have to use more of that purple spray paint because, like I said, it is just so pretty, but I don't want to cover the entire pot in the purple because I really love the look and the texture of that terracotta. So I'm just going to be using some painter's tape here and covering up the entire bottom portion of that little pot, and I'm just going to be leaving the lip exposed to spray paint it. This is how it turned out after just 1 coat of that lilac spray paint, and I really like the texture and the look of the 2 different colors. I think it looks really cool. And now I'm just going to take some twine that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap it around a couple times, and then I'm going to tie it into a little bow. And now to fill the center of my pot, I'm just going to be using some raffia. So you can find this at the Dollar Tree as well. They come in a pack of 3 bundles. So I needed less than 1 bundle for this, so I had plenty left over for a future craft. And I just filled up the center here, and now I'm going to get to use those other 3 carrots from that pack that I used earlier. So I'm just going to try and nestle 3 of them into the pot, kind of in a row. You want it to look a little bit rustic, but just make sure that they're nice and secure in there. And this is how it turned out, and how cute is it? It's just really adorable. And this is another craft that is perfect for a tiered tray. I'm going to be using this wood bunny cutout that I found at the Dollar Tree. Now you could do so many things with this wood cutout, but I'm just going to be painting mine in 1 coat of this chiffon cream chalked spray paint from Rust Oleum. You can definitely paint it by hand, but I figured this would be really simple, and I love this color. So here it is after 1 coat of that spray paint, and it is nice and dry. And now I'm going to be taking some blue painter's tape because I want to have some pink stripes. So you'll see here, I'm just going to take some strips of that tape and just try to evenly space it out. Now you could measure here, but I'm a big fan of just eyeballing it, so I tried to make them as even as I could, and once my bunny was all done, I decided to spray paint him again with some pink spray paint. So here it is, nice and spray painted with 1 or 2 coats, and here's the spray paint that I used. It is this really pretty gloss pink blush color from Krylon. It is very light, but it has a very pastel Easter feel to it, so I figured it would be perfect for this. And now for my favorite part, part, the reveal. I'm not sure how you guys feel about this, but I love seeing people take that tape off and just revealing those nice crisp lines. It's just so satisfying. So once he was all done and dry, I was able to remove that tape and move on to my next step. You'll notice here that there's a little hole at the top, and that's where the little string was from the Dollar Tree. So I just removed that, and I'm going to be covering it up with this beautiful burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. So I think that this ribbon is just so pretty. So I just cut a nice long piece here, and I'm just going to make a little bow, make sure it is nice and even, and then I will secure it right over that hole with some hot glue. I gave the hot glue a couple seconds to just dry and make sure it was really secure, and then I just trimmed my ribbon ends here just to make it look nice and neat. Next, you will just need some twine. So I always pick mine up at Dollar Tree, but any twine will work for this. And I'm just going to turn my bunny over, and I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right there, kind of in the middle of the body where the bunny's arms would be. And I'm just putting a small bead of it and just pressing very carefully my twine into that hot glue. And now I'm going to stretch that twine across the bunny's body, but I don't want to pull it too tight. I don't want it to be sloppy looking either, so I'm holding it taut, but making sure that it has a little bit of give in it because we are going to string some carrots, and we want them to look like they're just kind of gracefully curving around the bunny. So here are my 3 carrots I'm going to be using, and you can find these at Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 6, and I'm also going to be using these again later on. These are just so pretty. I stocked up on these this year. I got a couple packs because they're just so beautiful. And I just attached them to that string with some hot glue, and now I'm just trimming off a little bit of the green just to make it look a little bit more neat. And for the final step, I'm just going to be using some of these tumbling tower blocks. So you can find this little game at Dollar Tree in the toy section, and these little blocks are perfect for crafting, so I always have some of these on hand. And I'm going to be using 2 of them to act as supports for the bunny. So this step is completely optional, but I like when my wood decorations can kind of just stand up on their own and they don't need to be propped up against something. So this is a great trick for that. So all you have to do is just put some hot glue. I use 2 for this size bunny here. And you just want to make sure to put your bunny on a little bit of a diagonal when you're gluing them on, and your bunny will stand up perfectly all by itself. And here is the finished result. And this bunny, in my opinion, is just so sweet looking. For this next DIY, I'm going to be starting off with this piece of scrap wood that I already had on hand. So this one measured about 16 inches long by 3.5 inches wide. And I'm going to be spray painting it with one of my absolute favorite spray paints, this beautiful satin Rust Oleum in French lilac. It is just so beautiful, and if you guys are familiar with my DIYs, you will have seen this spray paint quite often this year. And while that is drying, I'm going to be starting on my eggs. So I picked up this pack of wood eggs from the Dollar Tree, and they come 8 to a pack, but I'm only going to need 5 today. And then I'm also going to be using some scrapbook paper. So I do not think Dollar Tree has scrapbook paper. I already had this on hand, but you can definitely pick some up at Walmart or any craft store. But if you do not want to use scrapbook paper for this, you can just pick up some really pretty colored tissue paper from the Dollar Tree and use it for this, and it would work beautifully as well. So I'm just tracing my eggs onto my scrapbook paper here, and then I'm just going to be carefully cutting them out. So since I had 5 eggs, I did 2 in this really pretty butterfly print, and then I also did 2 in the flower one, and then just 1 in my pink print here, and I made sure to position the egg over the word love. I thought that would be really cute. And now to attach the scrapbook paper to my wooden eggs, I'm just going to be using some glue. I'm just taking my time and making sure to get some glue on those edges because we do not want our paper edges to be peeling up on us, and it will make the next step a lot easier. So just take your time and make sure that those papers are nice and secure. After everything was glued, I just took some matte Mod Podge that I picked up at the Dollar Tree to seal everything in. So I just put a small dollop onto each egg and then brushed it with my paintbrush and made sure to get those edges. You just want to repeat this same process for all of your eggs and then give them a couple hours to fully dry. Here is my wood plank that I spray painted. I did not spray paint the bottom at all, and I didn't worry about the sides too much because I knew I'd be covering them up with some ribbon, but I did make sure to fully coat the top there. So this is that same burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be covering the 3 sides. I'm not going to worry about the back since no one's going to see it. And to secure it on, I'm just using some hot glue, but make sure you are super careful because this ribbon has those holes in it and you do not want to touch that hot glue. So I just very carefully tapped it into place until it was glued along those 3 sides. Now to secure our eggs, I'm going to be using more pieces from that tower block game. So I'm going to be needing 5 of them here. And once I had all 5, I'm going to start laying them out into place where I want them. So I had to decide how I wanted my pattern to be for my eggs. So I'm going to be basically putting 3 eggs towards the front, and then 2 are going to be staggered in the back. So it will definitely make more sense when you see it. So for my first block, I'm just placing it right in the middle of my plank and towards the front because that's where I want my 3 front eggs to be. So once I had it in place there, I just put a little bit of glue on the back of my egg and glued it to my block. And you could probably glue these eggs onto your wood plank without the blocks, but they give it a really nice sturdy base to hold on to, so I definitely recommend using them. And then once that one was nice and dry, I just placed my other 2 blocks in the same level as that one. So they're going to be towards the front as well. And then I just secured those 2 down, and then I put some more glue on my eggs to attach them. You could definitely paint the wood blocks the same color as your wood plank to camouflage them a lot better, but I figured you wouldn't really notice them in the end result, so I didn't worry about that. And now for my last 2 blocks, I'm going to be placing them in the back row. So you'll see here that they're right up against the back of the wood plank there, and I just put them in between. And now I'm just going to put a little bit more glue onto my eggs and secure those in place. So this will just give the eggs a really nice staggered appearance, and you can see all of them still really beautifully. And this is the end result, and I don't know about you guys, but I really like this one. I feel like it's different, and it definitely doesn't look like it came from the Dollar Tree, and I just love the pastel bright eggs. I just think that they're so cute. Next up are these Rae Dunn inspired shadow boxes, but I already had my shadow boxes prepped from a past craft, so I just wanted to show you really quickly how to do that. So this is how they will look if you pick them up at Dollar Tree, and you just want to take that glass out. So to do it, you just want to take out the screw, pop out the back carefully, and I just used a little screwdriver here just to help me take out that plastic insert, and then I took the glass out and threw it out, and that is it. It's very simple. And then the next thing you'll need are these free printables. So these will be linked down below for you. They are in that same blog post, and these are sized perfectly to fit into these shadow boxes. So after you trim them out, you can just go ahead, take that cardboard back out and put your new picture inside and then pop it back in, and that is it. You are done. Then I just repeated that same process for my second one, and very quickly I had these 2 Rae Dunn inspired Happy Easter shadow boxes. I love to change these out for every holiday since it's so quick and easy, and if you are interested in past holidays, you can definitely find those on my blog as well. You're going to need these 3 glass items from the Dollar Tree, so I'm using one of their glass candle holders as well as this glass candle plate. And I just glued them together. I already had this on hand, so I think I attached these with some E6000, but again, you can definitely use some hot glue for this. And then the third glass item you're going to need is this little bowl, and this is also found in their candle area. That is where I picked up all 3 of these. Since my stand was already glued together, I'm going to get started on the dome portion of this craft. So I wanted to add a little topper for it. So I'm just going to take a little scrap piece of raffia here, and I'm just looping it around and pulling it through to knot it. And then I'm just going to be trimming it right under that knot, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom of that little glass bowl. So I basically flip the glass bowl upside down, and now the bottom is the top, if that makes sense at all. It will make more sense when you see it here. And I'm just going to be gluing the raffia into the center of it. This is going to act as the little pull for the glass dome, but it's just going to be decorative, so do not use this to lift the lid at all because it could come off since it's just hot glued on, but I thought it just kind of gave it a nice little decorative touch. So now I'm just going to take my wood bead and I'm just going to squeeze that little loop together from the raffia and then just slide my wood bead onto it, and then to make sure that my wood bead did not come off, I just put a little bit more hot glue under it to secure it in place. Now that our lid is done and our stand is glued together, we can get ready to assemble it all. So I'm also going to be using this little ceramic bunny that came in this painting kit from the Dollar Tree. And once I saw him, I knew I had to use him in something. He was just too cute. And I think that he looks really nice as is, so I'm not going to glue him. But I did want to take out that little tiny metal piece in the top of his head, and it was harder than I thought, so I had to use some needle nose pliers. But once I applied some pressure very carefully, it did come out, but you could just take the string out and leave it if you don't want to risk damaging the bunny. And now I'm just going to be using some of this green moss that I picked up in the floral section of the Dollar Tree, and I just made a little green bed for our bunny, and then I placed him right in the center, and then I put the lid on, and that is it. That bunny is just so sweet, and this is another DIY that you could definitely change out seasonally, since you can just switch up whatever you put in the center of the dome. For our last DIY, I'm going to be starting off with this small wreath that I picked up in the floral section of the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using this pack of 6 faux eggs. So I'm just going to be gluing them around my wreath. So you'll see here that I leave a small area up top because that is where the ribbon is going to be for our wreath. So I kind of just put 3 on either side. This is Dollar Tree's smaller wreath, and I did find that 6 eggs worked pretty well for this, but they do have a larger one, so if you want to go ahead and make that, you might want to double up on your egg size. And next I'm going to be adding some raffia. So you can find raffia at the Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 3 bundles, so you just want to undo the bundles and pull the raffia nice and straight to make it as long as possible. And now I'm just holding it in place and wrapping it around to cover up that wreath. And you can just take your time, and when you run out of raffia, just grab some more and kind of tuck it underneath the egg and you will be fine. Once I was done wrapping my entire wreath, I just took some scissors and trimmed up some of those stray pieces to make it look a little bit more put together. Next, I'm going to be adding these carrots that I found at Dollar Tree. So they come in a pack of 6. And I'm going to be placing a carrot in between each of the eggs, and I made sure to kind of stagger them, so I had 1 carrot facing out and then 1 carrot facing in, and then I just went ahead until I got back to the other side and filled in each one of those holes in between the eggs. Next, I'll be using some ribbon. So I got this one from Dollar Tree a while ago, but you can use any of their ribbons. They have a very large selection, and I'm just going to be cutting it kind of long at the top and then putting a knot into it, and then you'll see I'm just trimming it, and then I'm going to secure that knot in the back of the wreath. That way it does not come peeking out. So once I had the proper length, I just put a little bit of hot glue in the back and secured it there. Now I'm going to be making a decorative bow for the front of my wreath, and I'm going to show you a super simple method to a really beautiful bow. So I'm going to be cutting a small piece and then a piece that is a little bit larger than that one, and we want to make a circle with it. So I'm just going to put a little dab of glue and then just form a circle just like this, and then I'm going to do that same process to my other smaller piece of ribbon, and then we're going to layer them on top of each other, and it's going to look really pretty. So now you can just glue that smaller circle ribbon on top of the larger one. And I just put a little bit of hot glue in between there to attach them to each other. And now to keep that circle from popping open, I just put a little bit of hot glue in the middle of it, and that was it. And now for the tails of the ribbon, you just want to cut a nice long piece here, and then I folded it in half, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the back of the ribbon. This is a really simple way to hack a beautiful bow very quickly and very easily with no fuss at all. Now you can just hot glue that bow to the top of your wreath, and you are almost done. We just have to add one more finishing touch. So I had that extra carrot left over, so I thought it would look really cute right in the middle of my bow here. So I just secured that into place with a little bit more hot glue. And that is it, you are done. But I did want to show you one little quick trick for hanging your wreath. If you want it to hang properly, like in the right direction without twisting at all, this is something I like to do. So I just took a small piece of ribbon and I just wrapped it around itself and put a little bit of hot glue, and then I just trimmed those edges. And I'm going to hot glue this to the back of my decorative ribbon, and this will just ensure that when I hang it on a hook or on a door, it will just hang properly. It will not be twisting in a crazy direction or anything. It will just lay perfectly with no fuss. You can see here I just hung mine up with a command hook from that little hidden loop in the back, and I had no problems at all, and it hung perfectly straight. And that is going to be it for this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the spring and Easter themed Dollar Tree DIYs. These are honestly some of my favorite DIYs, and definitely this time of year is just so fun to really just start crafting and get creative. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, I would love for you to consider subscribing to my channel. And if you would like to subscribe, you can just click on my picture right here.